Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. 888-589-8840. Number to call, 888-589-8840. We'll take calls on Russia's president being more thoroughly Christian than our president. We'll take calls on child discipline, corporal punishment, out-of-control child protective services. We'll also take calls on the healthcare debacle and on the shutdown. Now, let's get to a couple of sound bites on the healthcare debacle. Rob, if we can, grab clip number 7. This is Sean Duffy. He is a conservative congressman, representative from the state of Wisconsin, and he's on with Andrea Mitchell, and Andrea Mitchell is just spinning all of the shill and the bilge and the swill from the Obama administration, and Sean Duffy takes her head on and turns her into a pretzel, just like Jon Stewart turned Kathleen Sebelius into a pretzel. Here's how their exchange went.
Why won't he join us in Obamacare? Why wasn't Michelle Obama on October 1st at the computer with her family signing up for Obamacare? Or Jay Carney? They have their own gold-plated health care plan that they're in, and they don't. No, I'm not. I'm in Obamacare. I'm in Obamacare, Andrea. All members of Congress are in my family. The president should join us in Obamacare and the rest of America. Is that pretty reasonable? We should all be treated equally under the law? Why should members of Congress be in Obamacare, not the president? Explain that one. Isn't that fair?
Well, I think that
can you defend that? Can you defend why the president shouldn't be in Obamacare like members of Congress and their staffs?
I can't defend why the Congress and the White House cannot figure out a way to reopen the government so that our kids and their families can get the benefits that they have been.
And I told you we're going to do that this week. But I want your viewers to know that this has been a reasonable approach on our part to go everyone equal under the law. The president and Congress and Obamacare is good. If it's good for America, it's good enough for the people who passed the law. We're just saying treat individuals and families like big business and have Obama go into Obamacare. That's it. No one's asked that question but Jon Stewart. I think the media should start doing its job.
So that's a pretty strong rebuke. Here's Andrea Mitchell. She would fancy herself part of the journalistic elite. And what Sean Duffy is saying, look, to get any honest questions asked of anybody in the Obama administration, it had to come from a comedian on cable, Jon Stewart. It's just disgraceful. President Obama had his press conference yesterday, not one question on health care, not one single solitary question on health care. Now let's look at clips 8 and 9. This is from CBS. Now this is their CBS network. We've played some stories from local outlets that have talked about the absolute Chernobyl care fiasco. This is a meltdown. Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea what an epic, catastrophic, abysmal, historically gigantic failure, catastrophe this Obamacare rollout is. You still have media outlets that cannot find one person. They've been hunting for a week and a half for one person who's been able to sign up under Obamacare and can't find him. And it's even now breaking containment. Remember there was a movie, Dustin Hoffman movie, a number of years ago with Rene Russo called Outbreak, about this virus, like an Ebola-type virus. And once that thing escapes containment, you can't stop it. And that's what's happened here. This virus of knowledge that Obamacare is a catastrophic, abysmal failure. It's broken containment now. It's sort of out of the cage. It's out of the lab. And it's out now even into the mainstream media. Here is CBS talking about what an abysmal failure this thing is. Clip 8.
Well, millions of Americans have tried to sign up, but only a handful have been able to register for insurance because of problems with the website. It keeps shutting down. Well, the House Oversight Committee wants to know why. Jan Crawford is on Capitol Hill. Jan, good morning.
Good morning, Nora. Good morning, Charlie. You know, administration officials who are in charge of implementing and enforcing all of this are going to be on the hot seat here on Capitol Hill this morning. I talked to Chairman Darrell Issa last night, and he told me he plans to ask how and why this chaos could have happened, and he's not the only one talking about the disarray.
How many folks got signed up on the Obamacare? You got it right with you? Are you okay? Good.
In the past week, the president's signature achievement has become the butt of late-night jokes.
Some good news. Apparently, Obamacare does cover carpal tunnel syndrome, the result of pressing a computer trying to get through to stupid Obamacare.
No one knows how many people have managed to enroll. The administration refuses to release those numbers. But the website's launch has been nothing short of disastrous. Media outlets have struggled to find anyone who's actually been successful. The Washington Post even illustrated that sought-after person as a unicorn. USA Today called the launch an inexcusable mess and a nightmare.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the truth now about Obamacare has broken containment. Not even the mainstream media, not even CBS can keep this thing in the jar. It's gone. It's out there. Even CBS calling this thing a nightmare, talking about media. One media outlet after another cannot find a single living, breathing human being that's gotten on Obamacare. It's now become the butt of late-night jokes. David Letterman, Jay Leno teeing off on Obamacare. This is broken containment now. So this means even low-information voters that depend on the network for their information, even they are starting to get the picture. Jon Stewart sounded like a guest host on Focal Point the other night, grilling Kathleen Sebelius. She asked him, Jon Stewart asked her exactly the same questions I would have asked her if she'd been sitting in this studio. So it's broken containment. Let's clip number 9, talking here about the fact that computer experts could see this problem coming a mile away.
Computer experts say the website has major flaws.
It wasn't designed well, it wasn't implemented well, and it looks like nobody tested it.
Luke Chung's company builds online database programs. He supports the new healthcare law and says it's not demand that's crashing healthcare.gov. The entire website needs a complete overhaul.
It's not even close. It's not even ready for beta testing from my book. I would be ashamed and embarrassed if my organization delivered something like that.
Now, there are new reports that people who are actually able to register but then were blocked from going through the enrollment process now are being asked to reset their passwords and their usernames. We talked to Luke Chung about that last night, and he said that is a sign this whole system is going through major changes to its software foundation. He said, this is not looking like a Band-Aid solution. That's more like a heart transplant.
And what she's saying there at the end is that people go back on Obamacare now. They have to sign up under a completely new username. They've got to come up with a completely new username. They've got to come up with a new password because they can't get back on the system with their original username and their original password. Now, all that information, and there's another story that once you establish an account, you can't delete it. There's no way to go in there and delete that account. So that information that you have given them, a lot of very personal information, bank account numbers maybe, Social Security numbers, IRS figures, that number now is permanently in the control of the government. You can't get it back. You can't shut it down. You can't turn it off. And what's worse, if you go back on Obamacare now, you're going to have 2 different accounts with 2 different usernames, 2 different passwords, the first of which you never will be able to access again the rest of your life. And your private information is going to be on their system until the day that you die. One last clip, Major Garrett, clip 11, Rob, if we can grab that. This is Major Garrett kind of probing Jay Carney about the systematically flawed rollout of Obamacare. Let's listen.
I'm not a computer programmer. I'm not a specialist in writing code. But there are lots of people out in the country who've been blogging about this for the last 3 or 4 days, some of them very sympathetic to the Affordable Care Act, not hostile to its implementation, and actually believe that yes, there is a problem with very strong curiosity in people logging onto the system, but they also have detected through some pretty simple forensic work on their own that this is a failed system, that it's coded improperly, that basic sort of fundamental steps that should have been anticipated and built into a large government system like this simply don't exist, or don't exist to near the capacity they ought to. Is it too early to talk about this particular rollout as being systematically flawed in its construction?
All right, that's enough, Rob. I don't want to hear Jay Carney bloviate. He says nothing in response. My point here is Major Garrett, I mean, this thing is broken containment now. It's out there in the mainstream media. This is a systematic flaw. It is systematically flawed. It's built improperly. It's poorly coded. It's not simply a matter of not having enough server capacity for all the visitors. There are fundamental problems with the very way this thing has been constructed. Let's go to the phones. Let's grab a call from Evelyn in Bay, Arkansas. Evelyn, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
How are you, Brian?
Good. How are you doing?
Thankful that you take my call.
You bet.
I really enjoy your program. I listen to Glenn Beck and everything on Fox, everything that's going. You have one of the best shows.
Well, thank you.
Informative. I hear a lot of things that I don't hear on other places.
Thank you.
I was wondering, did you watch Megyn Kelly last night?
I did not, but I read her numbers opening night were absolutely spectacular, and Fox again dominated the cable ratings. Anyway, go ahead.
She had a guy on there that was over at the park where they had all the illegal aliens, Pelosi and all them. I don't know. The different numbers was given about how many was there, but they said there were several thousand, and they was wondering why that they was allowed to go there and everything when the Second World War
veterans
wasn't allowed to go, and in fact I think some of the veterans was there around on another part, and they was blocked. They couldn't go in, but they had all of these illegal aliens there, and they were protesting, had all their their signs and everything, and she was telling about these 5 military men that had been killed recently, and they're coming back. In fact, I think they came back today. And that they didn't have the money, to have their funerals for their families to meet them, and so forth and so on. And so the Congress said, well, we appropriated that money. We had a bill, the president, that we thought that it covered everything, and to take care of their families and so forth on this bill. And we had sent it up to the Senate, and we thought that it taken care of everything, and we thought the president had signed it. But the Pentagon said, no, we don't have the money to there was this guy said that they were bringing back some of the military men on just a plain cargo plane, and they were unloading them off of the planes with forklifts. Their caskets with forklifts.
Oh my! Instead of with some kind of a conveyor belt where there's some modicum of respect or decency, unloading them with a forklift.
That's what they said, and I thought,
that's
what
obscene.
Is this country come to? I tell you what, Brian, yesterday I was listening to you and telling about who Obama is and what his plans are. Honey, I have prayed, and I'm watching all this healthcare stuff. I'm 83, so, I don't worry about my health. I worry about my children. And but anyway, they was...
Well, listen, I am out of time. I am sorry, Evelyn. I'm right up against a hard break. Can't do anything about it. Thank you so much for your call. What's happening with these returning veterans' bodies is an absolute disgrace. Back in 2.